This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds.
Lebanon County felt very much like home.
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Today, we have Steve Frogman Todd Davies, retired local radio legend. Steve, welcome to episode 48 of the American Grown Podcast.
48? It took me that long? Doggone it.
Well, you're busy, you just
I am busy.
recently retired, so, I just, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for the welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously, and I believe we first met, I was at a Cedar Crest High School basketball game, girls basketball game, I believe. I was photographing for Blue Cardinal Photography, and you were announcing at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loved doing that public address work out there. That was so much fun. I think I did that for about 18 years. Boys and girls basketball, football as well. In fact, little known fact, I named the cage.
Did you really?
I did.
At Cedar Crest?
Yeah, do you want to hear the story?
Yes, I'd love to.
Is that what this is about? Can we
Right.
talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
They opened up the quote-unquote the new gym
Okay.
at Cedar Crest. And when they did that, Frank Kuhn came to me and he said, hey, we want to spiff it up a little bit with the public address. Would you be interested in doing something like that? And I said, I've never done public address at basketball games, so, if you're okay with me growing into that, I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So, we did a couple games, and at one point, Frank and his assistant, Rick Dissinger, came over to me and said, what are we going to call this place? Because at that point, there were no banners on the wall. There was no painting.
Yeah, no murals.
It was all white. And I said, I don't know. I said, let me think about it. And I went home and I thought about it. And back in the day, they used to call basketball players cagers.
I don't know. No.
Well,
Why?
they used to have the courts caged off to keep the ball from going into the crowd and unruly crowds from in some
Yeah.
gyms coming down onto the floor. So they used to call them cagers. And of course, the Falcon mascot is a falcon.
A falcon, yeah.
And so there's the bird and there's the cage. And I just came back, the next game. I said to Frank, why don't we call it the Falcon Cage? He said, perfect. He said, let's start calling it that. I said, okay, well, I'll bounce it off the AD. He said, no, don't do that. Just call it the Falcon Cage. So I did, and for the rest of the season. And then fast forward to the next season, the second season, I roll into the gym for the first game, and there's that mural up on the wall. It just blew me away.
Yeah.
I just thought it was the coolest thing
Wow.
ever.
So that was you.
Yeah.
That was your idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Those were fun years. I really enjoyed that. I got to see some really good teams roll through there, not just Falcon teams, but teams from other gyms. And of course, we had a lot of neutral site playoff games where the competition was really ramped up and it was packed to the rafters with fans, and it was just a real exciting atmosphere.
The fans always show up for Cedar Crest games. Whether basketball, football, it's always packed houses, and it's a fun arena or location to shoot, taking pictures, and I imagine announcing also, because as the fans get into it, I know for me, it gets me hyped, and I'm just taking pictures.
Yeah.
You're actually calling it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was the best, for basketball, it was the best seat in the house, because you're right there with the officials. The officials are coming to the scorer's table. You're there with the game officials, the scorekeeper and the clock, the timers and so forth. And, the visiting bench was to one side and the home bench was to the other side. And everybody came right to you, know. And,
center of attention, you're the main guy.
And they paid me for it.
Oh, there you go. How many years did you do that?
It was just short of 20. I think it was 18. Wow. I think it was 18 seasons. Yeah. And it got to the point where, to be honest with you, I get up early. I got up early for my real job. You know, the last few years, I was getting up at 2:00 to be at work at 3:15, and some of those games when the teams were really good. Tommy Smith had some really good teams, and the girls' team traditionally is good. You're all ramped up after the game. There's adrenaline going, and you can't just shut that off. I go to bed, and I'm laying down by 9:15, and next thing you know, it's 10:15, and next thing you know, it's
you can't sleep.
Now I'm looking at the clock, and I thought, well, if I go to sleep now, I can get two or 3 hours, and it got to be counterproductive, because it affected my real job. So
yeah, let's get some background before we get into your radio career. Where'd you grow up? Where were you born? Let's get some background about you.
All right, I was born and raised in Berks County. My dad was a country doctor over in Kutztown, right between Kutztown and Topton. At the end of 10th grade, we moved out to Indiana, Pennsylvania. Dad took a job at the IUP in their health center out there, which gave him regular hours. When you're a country doctor, you're on 24/7.
Yeah.
People come to
all the time
and ring the doorbell in the middle of the night. Hey, we had an accident. So it was like that. And he wanted regular hours later in his life. And so I finished up high school in Indiana. I met Carol out there in high school. We got married when she finished college. And, my first radio job was at Latrobe. Second radio job in Randolph, Vermont. And then, here for 38 years.
So while at Latrobe, do you remember what your first job was? What'd you do? Yeah.
The very first thing I did, on the air was read 10 minutes of news.
Really?
I cracked the mic open and I had to read 10 minutes of news. That was how I started my show. And that was not my decision. That's just the way that show went. And, it came with it. And, so I spent, plenty of time gathering the news, and I cracked open the mic at 2:00 or 3:00 or whatever it was, and I started reading, and and I beat myself up because of little things that I did here and there, and I felt like the world was listening. In retrospect, knowing what I know now, probably nobody was listening.
Okay.
But,
But right. Yeah. You're behind the mic.
Yeah.
In a professional setting.
Yeah.
You feel like your nerve a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's your first gig.
Yeah.
How did you overcome some of those nervousness? First,
just repetition.
just like an athlete would.
Yep, absolutely, reps.
Yeah. And then from Latrobe, you went to a station for a couple of years in Vermont.
Randolph, Vermont. Yeah, that was a country station. We were we had an outstanding signal, an FM signal up on top of one of the ridges out there. We got into I think it was 27 counties and 3 different states. We got into part of New York, all of central Vermont, part of New Hampshire. We had an awesome signal and awesome following. That was a country station up there.
So how did you and Carol end up there in Vermont?
I wanted to step up from that Latrobe job.
Okay.
That was a 500-watt daytimer. I read in one of the periodicals that WCVR was looking for a morning man and program director, and I thought, this is small town, but an opportunity for me to grow a little bit professionally. So, yeah.
What was it like living in Vermont? Probably beautiful, right?
Damn cold.
Yeah, that's for sure, right? Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, the weather up there is unbelievable. It gets so cold. I've always said that if your car has any kind of weakness, that cold will find it. It's true.
It's brutal. Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah.
36
below was the coldest that I can remember, and I got frostbite that morning on the inside of my index finger on my right hand, trying to start my car. I had a brand new Datsun 200 SX, which was pretty sporty back in the day. That's Datsun was a precursor to Nissan, of course, and it was a sporty car. I would not have bought it if I knew that I was moving to Vermont. And it was so cold that morning. I went in to start the car, and the engine oil was so hard, it could barely turn over.
Wow.
It could barely turn over.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned about block heaters for cars.
Okay.
I went and got one that day.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. And everybody has them up there. But
But you didn't know.
That was the weakness in that car at that time. The cold found it.
And yeah.
It was, and snow.
And probably a ton of snow. Feet and feet of snow.
Yeah.
From Latrobe to Vermont to now beautiful Lebanon County, you were roughly, 38 years we were saying with Lebanon Broadcasting Company.
Well, yeah, Lebanon Broadcasting forever, and most recently Seven Mountains Media. So
yes, yeah.
Just that, I think the last 3 or 4 years was those last two companies, but primarily with Lebanon Broadcasting Company, yeah.
And what was the transition like? And why Lebanon County, of all places? You're out towards Pittsburgh, Kutztown area, friends and family here, just job opportunity?
Well, probably a combination of all of that. Lebanon County felt very much like home after having grown up in Berks County. There are people here who still speak Pennsylvania Deutsch, just like over in
Dutchy.
Yeah, just like over in Berks County. I was over at Renninger's Farmers Market in Kutztown yesterday. You can literally walk past people still talking Pennsylvania Deutsch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Felt like home. So coming to Lebanon, then you and Carol started a family?
Well, Steve Jr. was born up in Vermont.
Okay.
Kimberly was born here in Lebanon.
What was it like raising a family here in Lebanon County?
It was great. They went through the Cornwall-Lebanon School District. We never had any qualms about that. The Cornwall-Lebanon School District had a lot of resources and everything the kids needed, and they both had outstanding academic and athletic careers at Cedar Crest, and we couldn't have asked for anything more.
And what are they doing now, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, Kimberly is living in Spartanburg, South Carolina. She has a young family down there, a daughter and a son, and she works for Reebok. Reebok and Adidas both have a big presence there in Spartanburg, and she works in sales for Reebok, corporate sales. And Steve is a commander in the United States Coast Guard after having gone through the Coast Guard Academy up in New London, Connecticut.
And now that you're retired, do you get to see him much? Do you get to go visit him often? Or?
Now that we're retired, we have that flexibility, and we can do things like that. So we're going down to South Carolina again in just a couple of weeks because the brisket is really good down there.
Yeah,
that's a good reason to go, right?
That sounds great. Yeah.
And in July, for a retirement gift, Steve treated me to fishing in the Key West Marlin tournament. On his boat. So that was cool.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So we're getting to visit more now than we used to. It's still distance, but you got to do what you got to do.
And family's everything. So that's
absolutely
awesome. You contributed so much to Lebanon County. Doing some research on you, you were a t-ball, baseball, softball, basketball coach on the board for your local church, and the good old Iona Swim Club. Which, I mean, I remember I went to that all the time being a kid growing up. That was the place. And
was I out there when you were out there?
You probably. I mean, I was.
Were you one of the unruly kids that they were always benching?
No.
Lifeguards were benching you?
No, I was a good kid. But being part of the Haynes family.
Oh yeah.
My mom's one of the 14.
Oh, yeah. I did not know that.
Oh no, you didn't. Oh.
I didn't know that, but
I
knew Dad.
Yeah,
Gordy.
Yeah, Gordy. Yep, Gordy. Or Ted.
Ted.
Yeah.
And he was always out there sunbathing.
He's wild. Yeah.
That was just funny. I was just thinking about him the other day because we rolled out by the swim club, and of course it's not there anymore. It's a cornfield. But we've always said that the bond at the swim club was one of the best investments we ever made as parents because. In the summertime, I was still working early, and I'd be home by about 12 noon, pick the kids up at childcare and get a little lunch and head out to the swim club. And, I could take a little snooze, and they'd be out there playing with their buddies, and it was awesome. I'd be there with my little cooler and a straw, and everybody thought it was water in there, but it was.
What'd you have? What did you have in there? Not bourbon. No,
it wasn't bourbon. I think it was ice and vodka and orange juice or something
there you
like
go.
that. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was very refreshing.
I believe it. Yeah, especially at the swim club. And for those that might be too young to remember, the Iona Swim Club was the place. Everyone came together, had a nice snack bar, had the 10-feet section, which that's where all the older kids would go. You had your swimming lanes. It was really something. So it's a shame that, like you said, now it's a cornfield. But back then it was the place.
You know, when we first joined the swim club, their membership was flagging. It was going down and down and down, and I was on the board, and we kept trying to come up with ideas of stuff to do, and I started doing pig roasts out there.
Okay.
We hired a guy to do a pig, and we got a lot of people to buy tickets, and it ended up being a little bit of a fundraiser. It turned into an annual thing, but after watching him do it the first year, I remember, pulling some guys together, and I thought, we can do this. We don't have to hire a guy to do it, and that you can rent a roaster and buy a hog. At that time we bought a hog from the farm out there on Schaefer Road. Bud Arnold had a hog farm out there, and if you bought the hog from him, he would let you use the roaster. So,
wow.
I remember one time we paid off the mortgage at the swim club. It was the 25-year anniversary of the start of the swim club, and we had a free pig roast, and we had a huge. Actually, we did 2 hogs that year. It was that big.
Yeah,
it was a big
It
deal.
went over real well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when people find out you know how to roast a pig, the next thing you know, you're working on the weekend.
You're working all the time, right? Yeah. And were you there towards the end? I think it was.
It was a sinkhole. Yeah, they had a huge sinkhole under the pool.
Yeah.
And I believe, and I wasn't there, but that's what I understand. The sinkhole was so big that the cost to repair was cost prohibitive.
You're right. So let me ask you this, Steve. How do you find time to do everything that you did in a day's time? I mean, work, coaching, being board members. How did you do it all?
Well, time management, I guess. You do what you have to do. As a parent, as an adult, it's easier, I think, because and there's also something to be said for an afternoon nap. I learned how to harness that power, so that enabled me, to stay up a little bit later and, get some of those evening meetings taken care of, and sporting events, going to see my kids play or doing the play-by-play, not play-by-play, but the public address at the basketball and football games.
Yeah. Throughout your career, who would you say are some of the mentors that have helped you or guided you?
Well, my first radio job out in Latrobe, there was a guy there by the name of Chuck Campbell. He had been there for a lot of years. He was somewhat older than I was, and God bless Chuck. He was born with cataracts in his eyes, and he was legally blind, and he walked to work every day. But he taught me how to rein it in a little bit. I had a lot of energy, and it was small town radio, and from that, moving up to Vermont, probably the guy that had the biggest influence on me was a guy by the name of Greg Price. Greg worked in Philly and Milwaukee. He pretty much started the radio station at Temple when he was going to school there. And he, after being reined in Latrobe, let me go a little bit.
Yeah.
He threw me into the morning show and said, just, have fun. And so a lot more energy came out up there, and people seemed to like it, and came down here to Lebanon then, and Ed Burris, who was the station manager at the time, I think really taught me how to be a pro, how to handle yourself in public, not just when you are wearing the station logo, but knowing that this is a kind of a smallish town. Everybody knows you, and you're representing the company, whether you're out to eat or whether you're with friends or whether you're on remote for the radio station. You're still representing all the time. And without him really coming right out and saying that to me, he sort of made me feel that. And so I would count him as a mentor. He was never on the air. I wouldn't call him a broadcaster. He was a sales guy and a sales manager.
Oh, wow.
But he taught me how to be a pro in that respect.
Podcasting is getting popular. There's a lot of people locally that I know, some friends that are into it. And even for maybe future listeners that might get into the radio career, what would be, let's say, 2 or 3 tips that you would give to somebody that is getting into hosting or radio or podcasting?
I don't know anything about podcasting. But I would tell somebody who wants to get into radio. By the way, there's still a morning show spot open here in Lebanon. So
oh yeah, what's going on there? Real quick.
I don't know. I'm not working there anymore. They need a morning.
I know.
I know they need.
I
a
miss
morning
your
person.
voice. My wife and I used to listen to you driving Parker up to daycare on north side of town, and
I appreciate that. I appreciate you listening. And then anytime anybody tells me that, I always say thank you for listening.
it's not the
you
same.
Don't know how much I
it's
appreciate
not the
it.
same. But
well, you know what? It never will be the same, and that
No.
happens anytime anybody moves on. But I know they're looking for a morning guy, and I don't know. What about?
yeah, maybe. The young man over there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Steve. You know, I'm busy. I'd love to though. Wouldn't that be something just to give it a try? Because I don't think I have the look for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. No hair at 32. Almost 32. I can't pull that off.
If I had to offer someone a tip about getting into radio, I would simply say, get your foot in the door somewhere, and then just work hard. Do whatever they ask you to do. And that's probably good advice for any job or any career. Get your foot in the door, work hard. Be diligent, be a company person, and and then move on from there. If you can step up at some point, if you can't do it there, take it somewhere else. Where they value your work ethic and professionalism. That's what I would tell anybody.
Oh, I agree 100%. Get in early, stay late, put the time in, and you're always learning, right? You're always learning, and you can always learn. Like I think it's so interesting that what you learn from a sales manager, at the radio station there, to be professional, handle yourself professionally. You can always learn from somebody.
Quick story about Ed Burris, who hired me and was the station manager at the time. At the time, of course, was living up in Vermont, and we decided we wanted to try to move back to Pennsylvania, sort of focusing on this area really, because there were a lot of good small to medium to large market radio stations, and I applied at a lot of them. Well, Ed responded because I knew they were looking, and brought me down for an interview. I stayed at my sister's house over in Shillington, drove to Lebanon for the interview. I'm sitting in the front office. He comes out to greet me, and we're wearing the exact same outfit.
No.
Oxford shirt.
Yeah.
Blue blazer, khaki slacks, penny loafers, red tie.
Oh, to the T.
To the T.
Wow.
And as soon as I stood up to shake his hand, and I said to myself, I got this. I got the job.
You nailed it. Yeah.
I did.
Wow. What are the odds of that? That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Wow.
And he didn't know that. He didn't realize that.
Oh, but you
until
picked up.
Until I told him years later. I said,
He didn't. Yeah, but you picked up on it right away. You're like, oh, crap. Yeah. But you could look at it the other way and be like, oh, no, he's going to think I'm trying to be like a kiss ass. But how would you know? You never met him before.
No, that's the truth.
Wow. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
So now that you're in retirement, what are you passionate about? Like, what are you doing? I don't think you're a golfer, because we talked off air. I don't think you really picked up golf.
I used to golf. I used to golf a lot, but my shoulder hurts when I golf now, and I don't like to poke. I don't like to poke that bear. It'll hurt so bad that I can't sleep at night. So,
whoa. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Don't stay away from golf.
So,
But you do the deep.
I like fishing in the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like fishing in the salt water. Yeah.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught?
The biggest fish I ever caught was 400-pound blue marlin out of Hatteras, North Carolina. Yeah. And I've caught out of Ocean City, Maryland on one trip. I caught 5 white marlin and a blue marlin in one day.
Wait, in one day?
Yeah.
Now, they're not easy to catch, I imagine.
Well,
I never went, so I don't know.
They seemed easy that day.
But yeah, that's a lot of reeling in, isn't it? Right?
It is, yeah. But I was with some guys who had never done it before, and they were tired of it. And I understood what an epic bite this was. And, the guy said, I had enough. I said, well, I'll take the reel.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
I was tired, too, but I was digging it.
Yeah, you're not going to let it go. Yeah. Wow. So how did you get into that hobby? Just going to the beach and getting into it? Or?
I've been fishing since I was a little boy. Dad took us fishing. We'd vacation up in Quebec and do a lot of freshwater fishing. And at one point, I think I was about, I don't know, I might have been about 12 years old. Dad took us on a party boat out of Barnegat Light, New Jersey, and the mackerel were running. And we were catching mackerel 4 at a time. And I thought, Oh my God, fishing in the ocean is awesome. Of course, every day isn't like that, but we were catching them 4 at a time. And so that was epic, and it really turned me on to fishing in the ocean. And when I got old enough to make my own decisions, I got into surf fishing, fishing on the beach, and that took me to Hatteras, North Carolina. And of course, I saw the big, beautiful boats at the marinas, and I thought I got to try this. And so about 35 or 38 years ago, I did that the first time, and I've been doing it almost every year.
You were hooked
since. Yeah,
hooked. Literally, yeah, you like that? There. Yeah, you like that? I got a couple. So that's phenomenal. Be on radio. Yeah, well, maybe one day we'll see what happens. So Carol's also retired. Your wife, I believe, recently.
Yes,
yeah. So now, what do you see? Like, what's your life going to be like? What are you going to do? You two?
There's plenty. Everybody says, "What are you going to do?" There's a lot to do. We're finding time to do stuff that we've always wanted to do, but never had the time or energy to do before, including stuff around the house or yard work or, just little jobs here and there. Sometimes you just came home from work and you thought, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to cut the grass, or I don't want to pull weeds.
It's little things, right.
Now you can you can peck away at stuff like that all the time. Plus work in the trips to see your daughter and her family in Spartanburg, or going down to Key West and visiting Steve and his family and that.
Do you still get up so early? I want to ask you because, you're getting up 2-3 in the morning, or like, how was that transition?
I was getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to be at work at 3:15. This morning, 6:30. So it's been a slow progression, a process to get it back to, and I don't believe 6:30 will be every day, but that's what it was this morning. Lately, it's been usually between 5 or 6. And 5 seems early to a lot of people, but after having gotten up at 2 o'clock for a long time, 5 o'clock, isn't bad. I think it's still a process. It's a process of trying to stay up a little bit later at night, trying to dispense with that afternoon nap,
right? Yep.
And then going to bed a little bit later. Going to bed a little bit later, dispensing with that afternoon nap, and it's sort of working itself into waking up a little later.
Yeah.
So.
Cheers for Carol and your retirement.
Thank you. Cheers. Cheers to Carol. That's delicious.
Old Forester, Old Foe. Oh, here. Yeah. Fill you up. Here we go.
Don't fill it up, but...
No. A finger or two.
That's good.
Okay. So we are sipping on Old Forester, Old Foe. My buddy Taylor Shepley brought this in. He was on the podcast recently and hooked me up. But the items you brought with you today, let's talk about them. What do you have? I see you have 2 in particular, and photos will be up on the podcast, Facebook, and Instagram. Whoa. Okay. Steve Davies, voice of the Falcon Cage. Thank you for serving as the voice of Cedar Crest Falcon basketball for the past 18 years. Your naming of the cage and call of Let's Play Hoops.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Will always be a part of Cedar Crest history. Presented February 2015. So that feels like just yesterday.
I would do the lineups and the national anthem. And as soon as the national anthem was over, I'd sit down. Pam would sit down. The scorers would sit down, get ready. And as soon as the clock was ticking down to about 2 seconds, it was, Let's Play Hoops. And then the buzzer would ring. And, it was
phenomenal.
It was all carefully choreographed.
Yeah, it was great. Yep, I do remember that. You should go back. I know you're not gonna, but it would be great just to see you.
It would be easier to do it now than it was towards the tail end, because I have the time now. But,
Let's Play Hoops. Oh, phenomenal. Okay, so this was given to you by
Rick Dissinger gave it to me that night. Yeah.
And
I was completely blindsided by it. As far as I knew, only I and he and maybe the coaches knew that that would be my last game there. But they did this little presentation out in front of everybody, and it actually choked me up. I was welling up when he did that. That was emotional for me.
Yeah. So where do you keep this at the house?
In a place of prominence.
There you go. Right, of course. Next to the bourbon, probably. Or one of the fish you call.
Yeah.
This piece here.
This is
what is that?
Did you ever see this?
Is it wood or plastic?
It's I think they call it PVC.
Okay.
I have a friend, Brian Maxwell, and he's on social media as well. He's got this little, it's like a laser cutter, I think, in his basement, And he will do custom work like this. And he surprised me with this, brought it to the radio station, and I asked him about the process. And he can do just about anything. In fact, I had one custom made for my son in the shape of his boat. It's an exact profile of his boat, and so it has the name of the boat, Rockabutsa, across the top, and then Key West at the bottom. Steve is at the top of this, and Davies is at the bottom of this particular piece. But so he'll do anything you want. He'll do little mock-ups and email you. Do you like this or do you like this? And you can adjust it, and then he just spits it out. And
is he on Facebook? Do you know?
He is. His name is Brian Maxwell.
Okay. Perfect. Oh, very cool. Shout out Brian Maxwell, local. Brian is related to my stepdad, John Poff, which, again, small world. But so I've seen his stuff. This is nice. I've never seen it in person. I've always seen it, pictures and things.
I had another a fellow former broadcaster see my social media post about this and the work that Brian does, and he called me up and said, how do I get in touch with this guy? I need one of these.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
Did one for him.
Yeah, anytime you can help local business and promote their services, especially with social media, because it's free, and you can reach so many people. That's phenomenal. Yeah. So very cool. How can our listeners connect with you and follow along on your journey now that you're retired?
How can they?
Yeah.
Well, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook probably seems to be the best way to follow right now. It seems to be the most responsive of all the platforms. I've been trying to get into Threads, and very little response there. Even Instagram isn't as good as it used to be, and I don't know why. I just had this discussion with Carol the other day about how I could post a picture, and with a few key hashtags, you would have responses from all over the world, and now it's just really seems like it's pared down. And I didn't lose any followers.
Yeah,
I just don't. So I don't know what's up with that. But Facebook's a good way to go. I try to still stay fun and positive on Facebook, and you probably noticed that Boscov's Travel reached out to me. And,
that was my next question.
Yeah.
Actually, I had that on here. Yeah,
they reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in hosting a cruise. So we're doing that next September, and that's being received better than I ever imagined. They asked me to try to get 30 people to do it, and we're up past 60.
Whoa!
That's
phenomenal. Yeah. How'd that come about? They just knew about you, reached out from radio, and
the Boscov's Travel did some work with radio in the past. Way back in the day, Henry Homan hosted cruises for WLBR and what would have been WUFM at the time, and so they were familiar with working with the radio station. And a couple of years ago, I guess it was pre-COVID, they asked me to host a Hawaii cruise, and that was received pretty well. And we were in the process of doing a Bermuda cruise when COVID hit, and of course the government shut down everything. Nobody was cruising, and we weren't allowed to do anything. So that was canceled. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, here I am retired. They said, "Hey, you want to?" And I was like, "Sure, let's
go." Yeah. And you have the following, so it just makes sense.
Well, they realized my social media reach, and that it was, I'm not Don Imus or Howard Stern or anything like that, but
for Lebanon County,
a lot of my reach is very local. And and that's kind of an important thing in this regard.
And how you handle yourself, I feel like a lot of people, they know you, or they feel like they know you, like, personally. And it's funny, my wife and I were talking about it. I'm like, I meet with Steve Todd and Frogman Todd. I was like, he is like a Howard Stern here in Lebanon County. Or like, I'm a big Mike Rowe fan on Discovery Channel. Mm-hmm. And just the way you handle yourself, the way you sound and everything, your voice, I'm like, he is a local legend.
Well, I don't know if, legend might be overstating it, but I've been around for, on radio here for 38 years. And, you come into it, I didn't use my last name because I didn't want people to be able to find me in the phone book. Well, when you're in a town of this size for 38 years, everybody pretty much knows you.
Yeah.
When you go out to restaurants and so forth, that happens all the time. And people will say, "Hey, there's Steve Todd. Is that Mrs. Todd?" That's
How do you explain that?
It kind of is.
Yeah, we could go with that. Yeah, we'll just go with that. So before we close out, is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners? Any last comments?
No, just, I don't believe I can overstate how appreciative I have been. I retired. My last day was May 19th, and we had that little shindig out at the radio station on Thursday, the 18th, and it was supposed to be a thank you to the listeners. Well, that flipped right back on me, and I'm getting emotional talking about it right now. It was pretty impressive, and I'm just so grateful that I was treated as nicely as I was by people over the years here. And, I couldn't have settled in a better place to raise my family.
Perfect. So Steve Frogman Todd Davies, retired local radio legend on the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
Cheers. Congrats. To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at AmericanGrownPod@gmail.com.